Before you jump into the video, be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. Alright, what's going on, guys? The Air Raid Lord is back with another video for The Walking Dead. This time, actually, I'm going to be talking about a series that a lot of people have been wanting me to talk about. I see it in some of the comment sections of older videos and newer videos, and a lot of people say you should watch Fear the Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead is a different show this season. I have voiced why I do not like the show in the past. It's actually an entire vlog where I talk about why I don't like Fear the Walking Dead. I will link that in the description below in case any of you want some context. But basically, I just wasn't impressed with Fear the Walking Dead. I watched the first full season, which was only 6 episodes, where that military camp gets overrun, and then there's the prospect of living on that boat with Strand. So, yeah, and that was where we left off for me. And I know that Season 2 is mainly on that boat. Then they land, and Season 3 is at some military camp. And then there's like a big Hoover Dam that breaks, and there's a lot of ambiguity about who lives and dies. And then my fans will be proud that I've watched every episode of Season 4 so far. I actually skipped 2 and 3, which is funny because I've seen some comments of people saying to do that because Season 4 it seems like a completely different season. The beginning of Season 4 actually starts with The Walking Dead. It was content they probably filmed for The Walking Dead or just extra content because Rick Grimes is in it. Rick Grimes, Jesus, and Carol, they all cross over, sort of, I guess, because they're in the intro. Because, for those of you, obviously, who don't know, most people probably do, but Morgan Jones crosses over to Fear the Walking Dead. Now, if you're only watching The Walking Dead TV show, you know this from the main events, when Morgan goes to the junkyard, tells Jadis that she can go back and live in the community, and then Jadis says, all right, let's go, and then Morgan's like, no, I'm staying, I have to be alone, and that we get more of that. So the first few moments of Fear the Walking Dead is actually Morgan in the junkyard, living alone, and a bunch of people go to talk to him, basically to try and convince him to come back. So Rick talks to him, which is great. I'm saying, you saved me. A lot of people are alive because of you. You're part of everything that's going on. Don't leave. Rick says everything. Anything and everything you would think to try to get him to come back. It doesn't work, obviously. Carol's lines are actually very interesting as well because she talks about how she did the same thing in Season 6, if you guys remember. She left. She didn't want to be a part of things, and she left and wanted to be on her own. And then Morgan went and saved her, and then she finally, found the confidence to understand how her killing fit into things and also just to be a part of the world, and now she's living at the kingdom with Henry and such. So it's interesting that she can take her perspective and compare it to Morgan's, which is very interesting. Those two characters, I swear, have so many parallels. Like, if anyone in Season 1 ever thought that Morgan and Carol would have this giant dynamic arc together, I would not have believed you, because the first 4 seasons, they don't even know each other, because Carol's with Rick's group, and Rick obviously met Morgan before, but Morgan never joined the group at that point. But then, of course, he joins at the end of Season 5, Season 6, and at the beginning of Season 6, throughout the conflict with the wolves, the beginning of the Savior conflict, they get to know each other, and they have that back and forth dynamic. They actually fight and knock each other out, so they're at odds, and then they have to understand. It's a crazy arc. Honestly, their arc together is pretty crazy. So it's cool that she was able to give some perspective. And then, of course, Jesus, as we saw in the Season 8 finale, he was trying to give Morgan some tips about how to be more humble in his, I guess, killing, and to basically reignite his philosophy, the one that Eastman tried to show him. So use one end of the stick for good, one end for the living, one end for the dead. We actually see him enact this in the final fight against the Saviors. He doesn't kill the guy, he just knocks him out. So the main characters that could have given Morgan some perspective, we get that. And then after this brief cameo, which is very cool, Morgan sets off. He just sets off on his journey. He runs, he drives, and he supposedly gets all the way out to Texas where the Fear the Walking Dead group is. Now, apparently there is a massive time jump because Fear the Walking Dead took place before, like when Civilization was still a thing, okay? When Rick was in the coma. Now all of a sudden, like after Rick defeats Negan and the Saviors, we're now going to Madison's group and what they're doing at the exact same time. Which is pretty crazy, because when I heard that Morgan was crossing over to the show, I thought that this would be before. That basically it would be Morgan and his family, like his wife and kid, in the past, meeting up with the group. But I guess that's not the case. Like when I saw the photos, but then all the promo photos showed Morgan with his stick with the sharp end. I'm like, wait, that's future Morgan. So it's cool because watching Fear the Walking Dead, there's a part of me that wants to keep watching it because I want to know what happens to Morgan. Like, he's one of my favorite characters. He's from the very first episode of The Walking Dead. A huge part of Rick's life, as we saw that Rick got a cameo in the Fear the Walking Dead segment. So that is true, kind of. I guess the marketing did kind of work with the fact that I want to see what happens to Morgan, and his fate is very much determined by Fear the Walking Dead, or if he goes back to The Walking Dead if he spends enough time or enough characters get killed off in Fear. Who knows? I don't know. But we'll get a better sense by the season 4 finale of Fear the Walking Dead. I guess we'll have a better sense of where Morgan's headed. I really don't know because he's kind of been in limbo. He wants to be on his own, but he keeps getting dragged into the conflicts with Madison's group. So, and then he meets John and the other survivors. So it hasn't been easy for him to really escape. So there's that. And then this season, again, it introduces so many new characters. You've got John, the guy with those really unique pistols, Heart of Gold. Al with that big SWAT truck, who is basically a videographer who's videotaping people's stories. Naomi, who has a history with John, which we see in a previous episode where it's just the two of them. And then she meets up with Madison's group. It's kind of closed off. And then I'm trying to see who else. Those were the main three. The first episode introduced those three. And the story, it plays out of order. It actually plays out of order because they meet up with Alicia and Nick and that whole group. But they're very disheveled. They don't look well. And then you come to find out that there's actually an enemy group that's been antagonizing them at this baseball stadium. So that's where they're holed up. So basically, Madison was able to lead the group at some point, find this baseball stadium, kind of like how Rick took the prison, made it his own. Madison made the baseball stadium their own, crops and everything. And we get a little bit of that prison vibe where Civilization, they're trying to rebuild things, but it's not really to that full level. Like the crops have problems, they're low on resources, and then this group called the Vultures comes in and starts. Like, it's funny because I kind of get like having just finished the Negan conflict with the Saviors taking half of Rick's resources and being the big villainous army groups, the Wasteland Raiders of the Walking Dead apocalypse. It's kind of like, all right, now we go to the Vultures and Fear the Walking Dead, and I'm honestly seeing some similarities, although it's interesting because they don't attack. They just sit. They literally just wait. They're camped outside Madison's group, waiting for them to die. Hence, like a vulture, they don't attack. All they do is take what's left after the group dies. Like the vulture leader says straight to Madison that we don't have to take anything, but I will have all of your possessions by the time you're done. So he's basically making a threat that he will take over whatever she has, but they're basically roaming raiders. I would say that they're more similar to the wolves than in The Walking Dead, where the wolves were plunderers. They just went from camp to camp killing people and taking whatever they wanted. Now, the wolves didn't really have a structure, as we saw with Alexandria. They just blindly jumped over the wall and attacked, and it got all of their people killed except for the alpha wolf. So this vulture group is more organized. They send that little girl in as a spy to then vet the groups and figure out how they're going to screw them over. And so they've got a bit of a sleuthy element to them. And you know, for the time being. And then they also make a deal. Like, they say, like, hey, you can join us. Again, much like Negan and the Saviors, they say, hey, you can join us to become one of us if you don't want us to just destroy you and completely take you over. Madison obviously says no. Probably because it's a trap in the first place. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the Vultures for now, like, I'm getting, like, it's basically if the Wolves and the Saviors were combined from The Walking Dead. That's the sense that I'm getting from the Vultures. Like, they're plunderers, but they also have a system. They're not total barbarians. They have some sort of a system behind what they do. So that's what they are. So far, the episodes have been, you know, out of order, and there have been some pretty big ones. Again, I'm getting into spoiler territory, and it's pretty an interesting time to jump into the show, because for those of you, again, big spoiler, but for those of you who don't know, they actually killed off one of their main characters, like one of the characters that makes Fear the Walking Dead, Nick. Nick is the one who just, he dies. Like, he actually has some conversations about Morgan, about how to control his anger. Then he kills that one vulture that's pissing him off. And then the little girl spy just shoots him at the end of the episode. Now, it came out that the actor, if I'm going to get his name, Frank Delane, actually wanted off the show. So the showrunners, going into season 4, had to find some way to kill his character off and make it meaningful. So that's a tricky situation. I can understand that. This is the same thing that happened to Dale in The Walking Dead with season 2. Dale in the comic book dies around the time of the Terminus group, the hunters, the cannibals, in the comics. But in the TV show, he dies on the farm, on Herschel's farm. So that was mainly because Frank Darabont was very close friends with the actor, I think Jeffrey DeMunn, who plays Dale. And once Frank got fired, I don't think Jeff or / Dale wanted to stay on the show for that much longer. So towards the end of season 2, his character just got killed off, and it was kind of stupid. Remember, Carl just gets a walker free, and then Dale gets bit. So it was a pretty shitty way to go. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that was years ago at this point. But a similar thing has happened here. I haven't done too much research into why specifically he wanted off the show, but I'm thinking he didn't really want to be an Andrew Lincoln, where he's on this show for 700 years. Even so, the actress who plays Madison Clark, Kim Dickens, yeah, that's her name, Kim Dickens. I mean, I don't know if she would want the same, you know? I have to imagine, I'm looking at some of the other cast members, and then there's Alicia Debnam Carey, who plays Alicia. Their names are kind of similar in real life and in the show. There are a couple characters where you think to yourself, you know, how much longer do they want to do the show? Because, you know, I mean, after season 4, you know, now you're talking, you know, the show is going to go into its 5th season, you know. How many seasons of Fear the Walking Dead are you really going to do? Because The Walking Dead is, of course, based off of the comic book. So as long as there's comic book material to base the show off of, we can at least imagine the show will go on for a good while, until maybe, I guess, AMC sees a decline in views or money or whatever, and then wants to kind of wrap the whole thing up. As we've already seen, but we'll see if again, that's a topic for another video, but we'll see if season 9's time jump and new scenario, the Saviors are done. We'll see if a whole shift with the story and perspective kind of gives people a reason to jump back into it. We'll see. That's another story. But I don't know, like, how many seasons of Fear the Walking Dead will there really be? And the show has been different because it's focusing on characters that are just new. Like, one of the episodes a few episodes ago, the John character, the former cop, the whole episode is about him, and then he finds Naomi washed up on the beach, and they talk about his past. It's very shrouded. He doesn't like to use guns because he killed somebody, and he didn't want to kill somebody, and he's just a good, down-to-earth man, and you know, it was a really well done episode. It's one of I can tell it was a Scott Gimple episode because he's now the showrunner. I could tell because he likes to have these episodes where it's focused on like one character and their psyche and how how psychologically they're being affected by the apocalypse. So I could definitely tell Scott was involved. But I mean, they've been good. They've been entertaining, but at the same time, I'm gonna be honest in saying that I haven't watched these episodes live. Like, I haven't been doing like at 9 o'clock as soon as the episode comes on, doing like a reaction video for it. I don't know if there really would be much to react to. Like, when I watch these episodes the day after, I'm kind of just, leaning back, watching, having a snack. I'm just like, okay, they're surviving, they're killing zombies, this is happening, this is happening. Like, other than Nick dying, I think that was the only reaction that I didn't get. And I think that's why people were going to my videos like, oh, you should have reacted to this. And I'm like, well, I hadn't watched seasons 2 and 3, although I knew Nick, I'd seen Nick in season 1. Like, the show starts with Nick when he wakes up in that rehab center and people are waking as zombies. So I kind of was, I was surprised. I was like, damn. But then when I saw the actor wanted to be killed off, I was like, oh, shit. Well, okay, that makes sense. But that's also a very tricky scenario you got yourself in there, huh? So, but yeah, this is kind of just a mid-season review. I like what the show's done so far. I applaud it for being different than the first kind of episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. They're basically trying to take these new characters and let them jumpstart the series. They think that the old characters might have been getting stale. They don't want Madison and Alicia and Nick to just be the Rick Grimes where we're just following them blindly. We get these new characters. We get scenes from The Walking Dead and how that crosses over. Will we see a full crossover where the Fear group just joins up with the Walking Dead group and it's one big show? I don't know. I think Fear the Walking Dead likes that it can get more money and airtime out of the fact, because The Walking Dead's not running right now. It's filming. So this is their downtime to be making, ad revenue money from their advertisers and just be making money off the Walking Dead franchise by having Fear the Walking Dead running in the downtime that The Walking Dead's not running. So it works out that they're able to do that and basically have their cash cow extended, so then, okay, then October comes around and The Walking Dead resumes. So it fits their schedule, of course, but if you had one show, you'd take that away. So again, I guess in my mind, I'm thinking, how will they extend Fear the Walking Dead? Like, where is the show going? Like, I'm looking for where is it going, because they just killed off one of their major characters. There's a lot of rumors that Madison is dead, but they're not revealing it. And if that was the case, like, who the hell is left? Like, all you have is Alicia and Strand, and there's only like a few characters from like that first kind of thing anchoring the show. And Madison's kind of our lead. Like, it seems like she's like the leader that a lot of this is revolving around, and then the other characters have their moments that are based off of her. Same thing with Rick from The Walking Dead, where he's the main guy, and all the other characters have their stories that revolve around his quest to build a bigger world. So, I mean, I'll continue with Fear the Walking Dead. I'm intrigued by their direction. I'm kind of interested. For me, I'm more interested to see where it's going. That's the main reason I'm staying with it, and to see Morgan's story conclude or wherever that goes. But it's different. It's different, and I don't know. I think the show could go in a lot of different directions. I don't know if they'll just stay in Texas. I mean, where are they going to go after the stadium falls? Like, are they just going to find some other place? Is Morgan going to tell them, hey, we're jump-starting civilization out east? But, you're talking a time jump into The Walking Dead Season 9, so if there's a massive time jump and the Fear the Walking Dead crew hasn't caught up yet, then I guess we're assuming that they just never do. So, lots of theories. I'm throwing a lot of theories out, but I hope you guys, are thinking of some and you want to comment and talk about that. So, let me know your thoughts, post them up, and I'll kind of do a little breakdown and discussion later. But this is This is a breakdown so far. Like, I was able to talk about a lot in this video, and just give some thoughts and feelings, because Fear the Walking Dead, it's a different beast. It's different. I mean, this show had its cast, and then the first episode just said, oh, we've got a new cast coming on board. And for people who never watched The Walking Dead, which I don't know how, like, if you're watching Fear the Walking Dead, you have to have probably watched The Walking Dead, most likely. But for people who hadn't, it's like, oh, who the heck's Morgan, and who's this guy, and, who are these new characters, and, oh, they're interacting with characters we already know, and so this season kind of needed you to know the Walking Dead universe and like expect that leadway to know there was a crossover character with Morgan. So a lot of different things, but we'll tackle them as they come along, and yeah, hopefully you guys have been enjoying this this half so far. I think it's been interesting, and I'll do maybe a second half review once the second half of the season concludes. Again, not really in the market for doing the reaction videos. I mean, possibly for the finale, but you know, we'll see. I'm not entirely sure about that. Honestly, the time slot for Fear the Walking Dead interferes with Westworld, and I've been more interested in watching season 2 of Westworld lately. I'm just gonna be completely honest. So that's also another reason. So you know, by the time Westworld concludes, The Walking Dead it's over, and then I have to wait till tomorrow, the next day, for it to be available on the AMC app. So unfortunately, that's literally, you know, the case. You know, I'm another show has my attention right now, and you know, Westworld, unfortunately, I'm liking it more than Fear the Walking Dead. So that's just facts, man. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and more theories to come. Peace.